In this one, we'll be going over all of what you need to know about intersection observers, which are basically used to create scroll animations and lazy loading most of the time. And there will only be this HTML needed, a little bit of CSS, and of course, this much JavaScript. Not too much, and I will explain everything that you need to know about intersection observers. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so we'll start with this HTML. This stayed the same. In the CSS, I do have some commented lines to speed up the process of animating things, and our script.js is completely empty. And I'd like to talk about what an intersection observer is. It basically just detects whenever something enters your screen or whenever it exits your screen. And to utilize that, we can give certain animations or class changes or trigger some JavaScript functionality whenever an element, a certain element, enters or leaves your screen. That's basically it. And I like to show you the values of those. To create a new intersection observer, I will create a constant variable called observer. And here just simply say new, as you are creating a new instance of the intersection observer. Then parentheses. And now the intersection observer will take in two parameters. One of them is required, which is going to be its callback function. And the other one is going to be an options object, which we'll go over separately. In this callback function, you basically have some preset arguments ready. For example, one of them is going to be the entries, which is going to be the elements that the intersection observer is monitoring. I just set this up here, and I'd like to console log out now the observer. Here is the content of the observer. There's a little bit of delay that you can set. The root, which means the parent, which is basically null. Root margin, we'll be going over this a separate time. There are also some thresholds here, which basically mean how much of the element should be able to enter the screen before I demand that it's now intersecting. But that's basically just our object. And if I wanted to see the values of the entries, which means the objects we are monitoring, I will first of all have to add them to the observer. To do that, my job is very simple. I will first of all have to grab those objects. So I say document.querySelector all, and we are looking for the objects with the .rect class. And then I'll say for each, we are going over them. An individual rect will be called rect. It will be just this simple. And then I'll say observer.observe, and then observe the rectangle. Now this basically adds all those rectangles to our observer. And if I come here, inside the callback function, this is the function that will get called whenever something enters the screen. I can actually just console log out the entries and see what happens. And we do have 20 of these rectangles. And as you can see, we do have 20 intersection observer entries added to our observer. Of course, it starts from 0 as it's an array. And then there are a bunch of values there are to these entries, but I will console log them out separately. So usually when you set up an observer, what you do is say entries.forEach, because you want to apply something to each element that enters your screen. And I will console log out the entry here. Now if we have a look at one of these, there are certain attributes and we'll go over them. So for example, the bounding client rect contains all sorts of information about the height, the bottom, and the positioning of the actual element inside the screen, which can be very useful if you're working with some transform movements. The intersection ratio is a number between 0 and 1, which basically means how much of the element is inside the screen. And of course, 1 means 100%, 0 means 0%. The intersection rectangle is basically the rect that's already in the screen. So the difference between the intersection rectangle and the bounding client rect is that the bounding client rect always stays the same, but the intersection rectangle will change depending on which rectangle I'm watching, because not all of them are inside the screen. There is also a very handy value here, is intersecting, which for the first element, it's basically true. That means, is it inside the screen? If it would leave the screen, it would be set to false. Now don't confuse it with the is visible, because even though it was in the screen when we console logged it out, it's still false. This is an experimental value, and what you need to use is instead the is intersecting. And then there are the root bounds. The root will always mean the parent. The width of the screen is 759 pixels, which is basically what you see here. And then there is the target, which is the div.rect, which means the basic rect. This is where actually I can change around the classes. You can see that there are a bunch of settings here, just like you would if you logged out an HTML element. And now that we've gone over these, let me show you something in practice. For example, we'll check if entry dot is intersecting. That means if a rectangle enters the screen or is visible in the screen, then we'll say entry dot target dot class list dot add, and now we can add anything we want. For example, if I create a blue here and I say background color aqua, or let's just call it aqua, and I'll add the aqua class to them, they are already aqua because they are inside the screen. And you see it happens so fast that they are all set to aqua before I scroll. I could also say an else block here, so that whenever something leaves the screen, I can just simply remove the aqua class. That's great, but then we don't see the difference. How do you know that I'm telling the truth here? So I could also just set an options object here, and inside this options object, one value that you will use very often is going to be the threshold. The threshold means how much of the element should be visible before it's deemed to be is intersecting. So if I say 0.5, it will mean 50% of the object should be visible before it's deemed is intersecting. And down the bottom, you can see that it's still blue, but as 50% of the image appears, it will simply turn into this aqua. But on the top, because I set an else block here, it already removed the aqua because more than 50% of its body is basically outside the viewport. There is something else that we can set here. I will remove the threshold, and there is something called root margin. Now this root margin will basically extend or decrease the area of which our intersection observer works in. For example, if I say 50 pixels, I just have to put it in strings, then the area of the intersection observer will be extended by 50 pixels, which is not really what we want at this point, because then I wouldn't be able to show you and test it. So I will simply say minus 50 pixels, or maybe even a minus 100 pixels, and that will decrease the area on both sides as a normal margin. And you can also use the top, right, bottom and left values for this. Minus 100 pixels will simply set it from all sides. And now you can already see not everything is turned into aqua. It's just like we're using a threshold, except it's a little bit different. If I set, for example, minus 300 pixels, only the 10, 11 and 12 rectangles are visible, and because basically we've reduced the area of the intersection observer, always those top 3 and sometimes the 4 will be the aqua elements. And now let's get to animating those little rectangles. I will remove the aqua class from here. I will comment back this visible class if it would let me. And I will also comment back these classes here. Here we are basically setting by default the opacity to 0. It's not display none, opacity to 0. That means the intersection observer can still detect it. We are also offsetting them on the x-axis. That's just because I want them to be animated from outside towards the inside of the screen. And we are putting a transition on them. And in the visible class, we are setting the opacity to 1, which already has a transition. And we are setting its x position back to 0, which means its default position, which already has another transition. So our job is really simple. Let me clear this and also clear the root margin. We are already adding the rectangles here. And we are going over all the entries because I want the animation to be applied to all entries. So what I do here is say if entry.isIntersecting, then to the entry.target, not the entry, because the entry.target is like the event.target where we get the actual HTML element, .classList.add, and we are adding the visible class. So now if something comes into the screen, they are animated in nicely. But we still have a little bit of an issue. What if we have thousands of these rectangles? Then we don't want to use memory to them. And not only that, the top rectangles were also animating out of the screen. Let's work on the animation out first. So to animate them out, I will say else, and then entry.target.classlist.remove. We are basically removing the visible class, and because of the transitions, it will work perfectly. So watch the top. It's animating out, but the animation is barely visible. And to solve that, I will simply give here a threshold of 0.5. So that means if 50% or more is in the screen, then it will get animated. You can already see it better. I could also say 0.8. And there we go. The animations are working. They are animating in and out. Now what if I wanted to prevent the animation from the outside and I only wanted to build up this site when the first time the user scrolls down? Then to do that, I would need to stop the whole process of monitoring our objects. And to do that, I will first of all remove the else because we won't be needing it. And I will also come here to the if statement, and after we apply the visible class to prevent the further monitoring of an object, you can simply say observer.unobserve, and you're unobserving the entry.target. Once something animates in, and this time I have to go upwards, then they no longer will have any monitoring. They no longer will animate anywhere because we are not removing and adding back the classes. It's basically over at this line. And that's about it. I believe we've gone through all of the intersection observer values. If something is not understandable about the code, about how the intersection observer works, or if you're curious about the value in even more detail, then please make sure to comment it down below. You could also comment down below what you'd like to see from us next. I hope you enjoyed it and found value in it. If you did, please consider giving us a like and maybe even subscribe. And other than that, I hope to see you in the next one. Happy coding and God bless.